Herzlich willkommen zu einem weiteren Spiel von Krillbite Studio, nämlich Sunlight. Sunlight ist ein sehr, sehr schönes Spiel, wie ich finde. Ich habe es angespielt ein bisschen und ich würde es sehr, sehr gerne auch quasi spielen und vorstellen. Und genau, bei den Optionen, da mache ich auf jeden Fall mal, die sind schon noch an, okay, die Untertitel. Die Textgröße lasse ich jetzt einfach mal auf Medium und ja, genau. Alles andere ist super. Und ja, dann würde ich sagen, fangen wir an und ich bin still und bereit.
Welcome. Are you sitting comfortably? Are you focused and not thinking about whatever's bothering you these days? I'm not here to test you. Please relax. Let your thoughts come and go and listen as they fade away in the distance. For better or for worse, this is where your life has brought you. Looking at a screen, listening to me. Imagine, for a moment, that you've just had a child. It's healthy, but unfortunately also completely blind. For their whole life, they will live in the dark and not see a thing. Their perception of reality is something that you might never be able to comprehend. How would you describe the world to them? What can't be touched or heard, smelled or tasted? How would you describe sunlight? By what it does? Or how it feels on their skin? I think I'd play them this piece of music. First composed by Tchaikovsky in 1878, these rays of light have traveled through decade after decade, finally reaching your ears this very moment. You have also traveled far to get here today, but you're only passing through and should probably get going. While you're here, I'd like to tell you a story. It all happened to me when I was young, walking
in a forest, much like you are.
Those were days filled with boundaries and rules, of no running in the hallways, don't do this or that or the other.
With my world full of fierce discipline, I walked the forest to breathe.
One day, deep in the woods, I found a funny looking tree, crooked, old,
and wrinkly. With little work, a few bits of bark became huge ships. Calm creeks turned to ferocious oceans. I can still recall the people I imagined dragged downstream with a sense of guilt.
As I gazed back upon the old tree, I noticed something
peculiar. It was crying. Every crumple, like eyes closed tightly. Clear drops streaming silently down its wrinkly skin.
So I did, as children do, tasted it. Not because it looked tasty,
But to figure out what it was.
The first drop made my tongue tingle. The second made it prickle. And the very moment the third landed on my tongue,
a profound sensation spread through my chest. Undefinable, like thirst.
both vague and specific. One thing was clear. Something was changing within me. I remember breathing in and out, feeding the fire.
Ich traue mich gar nicht, was zu sagen, weil das wunderschön ist. Und genau, wir können uns jetzt entscheiden, 2 Blumen mitzunehmen, entweder links oder rechts. Ich würde mich einfach mal für diese hier entscheiden.
I worked to a slight prickle in my fingertips.
I studied them closely, discovering circular ridges on the foreign landscape of my skin. The prickling soon split my attention.
It would be another week until it returned, a wave of gentle needles moving over my skin.
A limb falling asleep, perhaps?
I did not start worrying until it returned for the 3rd time, first making its way up my neck, before engulfing my skull completely from behind. I could even feel the tiny needles
Covering my eyeballs.
But did it not stop there? I held my breath
As the small thorns crawled around my lips before spreading into my lungs and stomach.
My awareness spread with it, and I remember
the strangest sensation of my mushy dinner
In there, as if I held its remains in the palm of my hand.
Suddenly, my body took control and opened my mouth, an explosion of air rushing into my lungs. The tingling spread with it through an endless web of veins.
Soon, reaching my beating heart for a moment, I stood in awe
Of the activity within my body.
I felt my heart beating faster, and my skin sweating.
Your body is your only vessel in this world.
And when it misbehaves,
The claustrophobia is stronger. Seek help, I thought. And at that very moment, the tingling needles
shot my brain down through my spine. I felt them scatter through my upper leg,
where muscles contracted to lift my knee. My body weight shifted forward, and a shock wave spread from the foot sole as it landed
softly on the ground.
The process repeated itself in greater detail for every step. I was overwhelmed, but my body
Kept moving.
I did not at all feel
Like the boss, giving directions. It all happened automatically.
And I was simply along for the ride.
like you.
doctor's office was cold and white. Crossing the floor felt like a polar expedition.
My
Parents, distant features of the landscape. I wanted to explain, but was unable.
My lips and tongue engaged in an intricate choreography,
myself in the audience observing the words performed.
My lips muttered, I'm sure it will pass.
while my thoughts were crying for help. Instead, I was following the hands of a clock mounted on the doctor's wall.
They were both speeding up and slowing down.
I was slipping further and further away, a levitating camera in a video game,
merging with the code it was running on.
Again, with the binary, with the electronic circuit and so on. I closed my eyes and let my sensations lead me.
First, I spent some time with my bones.
Among their many functions, I got lost in their
continuous breathing, an uninterrupted flow of calcium absorbed
and released.
Even my skeleton was alive and living, in and of itself. I could feel my mind clinging to the known, to the clattering of thoughts, the buzzing of memories and fears of the future.
But for each breath, tension was released, and my shoulders
sunk comfortably. It had certainly felt like I was in there, somewhere behind my face.
But I was nowhere to be found.
And the more I looked, the more easy I became. When my eyelids eventually opened, they felt as slow as a sunrise.
Photons converted to neurosignals shooting along the optic nerve, each carrying a piece of information
into the darkness.
The brain categorized motion, color, edges,
distance. I sat for a moment in the dusk,
watching the sunrise.
When the world eventually lit up, I was no longer wondering why matter lights up from the inside.
My experience had changed from the fire to the light it emits.
But it could get much stranger still.
As the moments stretched, I started daydreaming.
Or so I thought.
It began as a
shimmering
Field, creeping slowly in from the periphery of my vision.
The hands of the clock still moving,
But among them vague shapes. Slowly but surely,
I saw trees flowing past me, and among them, myself.
Sitting right there in the doctor's office with a vacant expression.
while walking around myself, I was surprised to still
See the clock, straight ahead. Myself from the side, the clock on the wall.
the two images were not overlapping, they just
co-existed.
Like imagining a familiar place with your eyes closed.
You see both nothing and something
at the same time.
I turned to look towards myself, but saw only the face
Of the doctor, lingering somewhere between confusion, concern,
and annoyance. However, when I studied his face closer,
I was struck by terror.
The image of myself had turned to look straight into my own eyes.
I felt my own hand
reach out towards myself.
the weight of my hand
Landing softly on my own shoulder.
Eyes distant, looking at the doctor.
Looking at myself. Rules and
boundaries disappearing.